Welcome to episode 11 of the Webcomic Beacon Presents First Issue.
I'm Marcus.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Fes. This week, we are going to take a look at DC Comics' New 52, Batgirl number 1. Batgirl number 1.
Yes.
With a backstory that relates on some of the previous issues, or
Yes.
kind of. We don't know yet.
Yes. The backstory on Batgirl, the basics on Batgirl is, well, she's Barbara Gordon. She is Commissioner Gordon's daughter. She is a librarian. At one point, she became Batgirl, and then she got shot in the spine by the Joker. She was a paraplegic in a wheelchair, and then she became Oracle. And there's been a kerfluffle over this reset.
What?
A kerfluffle.
Is that a sort of pastry?
Yes.
Yes, and it's a
delicious
tasty,
pastry.
delicious, dramatic pastry.
It's kind of like a falafel.
So the kerfluffle has been about the fact that she is no longer in a wheelchair. She is no longer Oracle. She's back to being Batgirl. Which is interesting because this issue does say she was shot by the Joker and she was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so this
is 3 years later.
Yeah, it did occur at one point. And one thing to kind of note is that how rare a character with a physical handicap is in comics in general, and DC and Marvel, who make up the exclusive, I guess you would call the exclusive title of mainstream comics. How even more rare it is there. So the main issue has been the fact that this character, who at one point did have something that was very unique, and that she was basically the information broker for all the superheroes. She was the eyes and ears for just about everybody. She's working with, the Justice League, for example. She's not limited to the Batman universe. And to have her go back and become Batgirl again, to a lot of people seems to not only be a problem from like a representation standpoint, but also bringing the character backwards. It's sort of like undoing something that was character development. The way I would liken it to being is sort of like noticing that Albert Einstein happens to be slightly stronger than ordinary for a man his age, and saying, hey, we don't need you in the Manhattan Project. Go out there and fight on the front lines. That's a great idea now. It's like, no, from a story standpoint, she was far too important as Oracle, at least in my estimation, to risk her life now basically kicking people where you could have 100 other people within the Batman family alone who can do the exact same thing and probably, not nearly as good mentally as she is. And
we don't even know if this universe of DC backstory even had her as Oracle.
That's the thing, yeah. We only know that she was paralyzed. We don't know if she was Oracle.
And this was 3 years ago, and apparently she's healed up to bend backwards, fly, upper kick somebody through the face with both feet. So I'm going to say that that there's something with that suit, or I'm going to call shenanigans.
It's a remarkable recovery.
Yeah.
Or maybe she wasn't shot in the spine because, as last I heard, there's no cure for shattered spine.
That sure looks like she was shot in the spine.
Yeah. On top of that, we are talking about a universe that has things like Lazarus pits that tend to bring people back to life from death. I'm sure just the right person. I mean, you can probably talk to Superman. He probably has like 6 things that can cure a shattered spine in his house.
So why was he holding out on her before then?
Because he's Superman. He's a dick. Haven't you been to that website?
So we open up with our mysterious villain that is seeking revenge and kills Santa Claus on his summer home, I guess.
Nobody likes him. He's been getting back to work.
But apparently, several people are on this list. Karen Monsell, Frederick and Rosa Porter, Nicholas Hall Jr.,
Spoilers.
Graham This is the first page!
Spoilers.
And Barbara Gordon's on this, so this person's seeking revenge on all these people for something. If somebody knows, they're going to know right away.
And we don't know if he knows that she's Batgirl, or if he's just going after something that Barbara Gordon may have done.
Right. It's like, what did she do? She got shot.
It sounds actually familiar, actually. There was another very similar thing in another book.
Yeah.
So
aren't reviewing yet.
So anyway, we get through this really cool fight scene to a point where she's waking up from a dream that basically tells us everything we just went over that establishes that backstory. And I guess she's at a point where she's going to be moving out of her dad's She wants to, get on her own. She's recovered enough that she
moves in with Jubilee.
Yeah, not the right universe, but...
it's Jubilee, for Christ's sakes. Look at her.
Where's your yellow trench coat?
The yellow trench coat hasn't been used since 1992.
I love that yellow trench coat.
It was
Everybody
amazing.
loves the yellow trench coat.
Well, definitely. I mean, she had to kill April O'Neil to get it, but hey.
Mm-hmm. And then April O'Neil stole it from Dick Tracy.
Yeah. So it's an ancestral heirloom that's been going from universe to universe. I'm sure someone else...
How is that ancestral?
Yes.
Anyway,
the art is good.
The art is good.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to point out that one thing I wanted to try to do for these comics is see whether or not they pass the Bechdel-Wallace test. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know what the Bechdel-Wallace test is, also known as the Bechdel test, is the literal version of the test is where you have two named female characters that talk to each other about something other than a man.
Yes.
Basically, and the spirit of the rule is to, are you actually writing real female characters in here and not just prop ups to perpetuate some other character?
And to get away from the token female character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets so close. So close.
Except this girl is not named.
Yeah, or Jubilee.
Unless her name is Rumi.
It should be Jubilee. Or Rumi, yes. That'd be amazing if her name just turned out to be Rumi.
I'm going to name my kid Rumi.
Hell yeah. Should all do that.
So.
But the writing I do like, though. It's Gail Simone does a good job with the character, and the new angle, I must admit, is very interesting.
Oh, definitely.
I really... She uses the fact that this woman is recovering from a debilitating injury very well. It works into the plot.
Oh, yeah.
Quite nicely.
Yeah, and we won't spoil exactly how, but... despite what we've said earlier, Gail Simone does a really good job with this. Like, she was definitely the right person to take on this writing assignment. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if very many other people could have pulled off such a jarring change to the character. Because, I mean, she's had been, in real time, in the wheelchair as Oracle for, at least 20 years.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, so to do such a drastic change and do it so well, that's something that only think Gail Simone and very few others could have done.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also pleased to note that the penciler, Ardian Siaf, I think is how you pronounce his name, is somebody I've actually worked with before on a book called Take a Chance, which also featured a female vigilante superhero.
Yeah.
Good little comic, and I happened to letter it a few years ago. But it's nice. It's nice to see Ardian working on this because he has a very good style with these fight scenes. There's a lot of energy to it, and I think his art has progressed quite a bit in just the few years since we did Take a Chance together.
Awesome. What do you think about it all together?
And by the end, we see a little bit more of that she's really not over her recovery. So that, like as you said, that's a really interesting angle. Yeah, it's sad that they're not using another. It's not a spoiler. I didn't say it so much.
I'm waiting for it.
Anyway, I'm not going to spoil.
Yeah, don't spoil it. I'm gonna club you over the head with a magic pencil if you spoil things.
I'm not. That's not what I'm here for. But
oh, really?
It's sad that there's not an basically there's not a hero that's just some other really good looking, well toned superhero in the DC universe, which is so hard to come by. Versus somebody with differently abled that can contribute in other ways and that people have really really liked. But it's nice to see that part of that's still kind of in here, and so it's you can't really blame Gale for this. You're probably going to have to blame DC for that. Because they're the ones pulling the strings for the most part. It's
hard to say who came up with the original idea.
It's hard to say, so we won't speculate.
It could also be
It could have been Gale's pitch all along.
Or the thing is, it might just be that because they're trying to get a lot of newer readers, most readers remember, or most newer people, younger people, are going to remember Barbara Gordon as Batgirl because of the animated series. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to necessarily even be aware of Oracle.
That's true.
So from a marketing standpoint, I understand it. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with it? Not really. But, Gail Simone did a damn good job.
Yes.
Well, succeeds or fails?
I'd say it succeeds.
Absolutely succeeds.
I also say succeeds. And I think we explained every reason why we like this comic. Batgirl #1 from DC Comics.
Yeah.